Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
Welcome back to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. I'm Barbara Hardt.
And I'm Doug Armitage. Thanks for joining us. The intro music is provided by Sean Kinane. He describes his style as a mix between Paul Metheny and Paul Simon, with the Temptations sprinkled in.
This episode is brought to you by the Backdoor Theater, the Gold Dirt Distillery, Brightwood Music, Hardt's Backhoe, and, of course, the Mountaineer newspaper. And now to the news desk.
This week's movie at the Backdoor Theater, Top Gun Maverick, rated PG-13. After more than 30 years of service as one of the Navy's top aviators, Pete Mitchell is where he belongs, pushing the envelope as a courageous test pilot and dodging the advancement in rank that would ground him. The movie shows Friday and Saturday at 7, with a Saturday matinee at 2 p.m.
Some of the current highlights in the Mountaineer include our weekly music column, the only weekly print music listing in the entire Peak to Peak region.
Our first story of the week is Jamie Lammers interviewing local musician Cody Wales of the band Judo Chop. Off you go, Jamie.
Hello, my name is Jamie Lammers, and this is my interview with Cody Wales of the local band Judo Chop.
My name's Cody Wales, grew up here in Netherlands, local drummer, play drums with lots of groups, including Magic Beans and Judo Chop.
And I hear that Judo Chop is performing.
That is correct. I'm very excited about it. I'm glad to see music happening again at the Stage Stop.
How did Judo Chop start? How did the band come to be? How did you guys meet? What are some of your musical influences? All that sort of stuff.
Judo Chop actually came together when I was taking a little break from the Magic Beans about 5 or 6 years ago. And I've known Brant and Jiho for a long time from playing music in other bands. They're from Iowa. They used to be in a band called the Workshy. And then Eric Luba, I've known him for a long time as well. He was one of the best keyboard players in town, and yeah, we just met. I've been doing the Judo Chop thing for a while now. A lot of our influences include Jay Dilla, Lettuce, Stevie Wonder, all sorts of just pretty eclectic, but in the funkier kind of hip-hoppy realm of things.
What would you say are some of your musical backgrounds? Where did some of the band members get some of their love for music and all that sort of stuff?
I'd say it's all pretty across the board for the whole band. I know that Brant and Jiho grew up in Iowa and played music together. I think that a pretty common thing that's consistent throughout the whole band would be that we all love funk music. I mean, I know Eric Luba's from New Jersey and went to school in New York. Yeah, I guess I can't speak super heavy on other people's influences, but myself, I guess I'd say I grew up here in Ned, and my dad was one of the original drummers of Leftover Salmon, so I grew up in a pretty musical family, always going to shows and stuff like that. And yeah, I guess, I had a pretty awesome drum teacher growing up. I had this guy, Ernie Cruz, who taught me drums and was kind of like my Mr. Miyagi, taught me a bunch of things. And I started developing a love for funk music and hip-hop music. And then I think another place where we all connect is on the hip-hop producer, Jay Dilla. He's kind of like your producer's favorite producer. And he kind of has like this way of making these beats that kind of skip and stutter, almost like a stutter strut kind of thing. And I think we do that a lot in Judo Chop, too.
And in regards to being able to perform music as part of your lives and performing music live, what are some of your favorite aspects of that?
I mean, I think for me, performing music live allows you to live in the moment if you choose to do so on stage, and if you just choose to be present, which I think is a gift to be able to just live in the moment and exist there and make music for your friends. And also, music is this great connector and healer of things. And when you play music, you invoke emotion in other people, and sometimes that can be sad, and people need to just feel feel that. And sometimes that's happy, and people need to feel that. And there's also this kind of untold brotherhood between musicians out there, especially in the Denver, Colorado Front Range, Nederland music scene, that we're all just kind of connected and I'm just for one, and it doesn't feel as much as a competition as like we're all trying to support each other.
What do you hope that audiences will end up taking away from your shows when they come to see you?
I hope that the audiences, I hope they have a great time and enjoy the music. I hope they pick up on our vibe, and whether you heard us or not, I hope that we leave you wanting to come back and see Judo Chop again.
And this is something I should have asked earlier. I think you kind of talked about it before. You said you guys kind of have some funk influences and soul influences, stuff along those lines. What would you say is your primary wheelhouse when it comes to music?
It's in the funk, hip-hop, kind of jazzy realm. A lot of times, we'll play a song that we know, and then we make up a lot of songs. There's a lot of completely improv with no structure to it at all. Brant will come up with a lick, or Luba will come up with a lick, and we will play that. It's also kind of crazy, the band, we're all in a bunch of other bands, so it's kind of ever-evolving. So, sometimes I'll be on tour with the Magic Beans, and I'll have to call in, like, my buddy Will Trask to play drums, or somebody can't make a gig, and we just calling people, like, on this lineup that's happening at the Stage Shop, it's Brant Williams and Chris Duffy, who's also the bass player of the Magic Beans, and then it's Ben Wineski, who's an amazing keyboard player that plays with his band Jandu. And also I should mention that Brant and Luba also play in his band Many Colors. It's a really amazing upcoming band in Denver as well. So it's kind of cool because depending on when you see Judo Chop, you're probably going to get something a little bit different every single time. It's never going to be the same.
Is there anything else just in general you want to add about the band or about your shows or anything else in general?
I want to just say to the mountain community and the Colorado community that music scenes only exist if you make them exist. So you got to come out to shows. You got to support when people come through town, whether it be Nederland or Romsville or Denver. If you don't come to the shows, then the music scene doesn't exist. So it's just as much on the musicians as it is the people who are attending the shows. And I hope to see everybody out there. And I also want to just give a quick shout out that Magic Beans will be playing under the name Beans & Co. at the Nederland Farmers Market on July 3rd, which should be a pretty rowdy time because that's a pretty small place for us. And the Magic Beans started in Nederland, so we're excited to kind of bring it back to the hometown play.
Yeah, I don't know. I think those are all the big questions I have on my end.
Right on. Well, I appreciate you getting a hold of me and helping promote music up here. I've lived in Nederland my whole life, and I sometimes see this area thrive with music, and sometimes it's in really weird, crazy lulls, and I hope the music scene starts making a comeback and starts breathing a little life into itself up here, because we really sure could use it.
Thank you so much to Cody for coming on board and joining us for the podcast. Be sure to check out Judo Chop live at the Gold Dirt Distillery and Stage Stop Backyard, 60 Main Street in Rollinsville on Saturday, June 18th, 2022 at 4 p.m.
Thanks, Jamie. Now, back to the news desk. Here's the information on the upcoming special election to replace the Nederland mayor and fill the open Board of Trustees seat. The Mountaineer will host a candidate forum before the election. The election is Tuesday, August 23rd. Keep an eye on the Mountaineer in print and online for important election information.
Summer is here, and that means Brightwood Music in Nederland has travel instruments to take with you on your journey. From folding guitars to ukuleles, mandolins to harmonicas, and more, Brightwood has what you need for the aspiring musician or the advanced performer. Brightwood Music is family-owned and operated and has been a Nederland staple for all of your music needs since 2009. They are located at 20 East Lakeview Drive, Unit 109 in Nederland, and can be reached at 303-258-8863. Check them out on Facebook at Brightwood Music.
Peak to peak musicians and artists, the Mountaineer is looking for you. We're looking for our July and August featured musicians. Would you like a feature story in the Mountaineer, print, online, or the podcast edition? These are all completed through email, phone calls, or occasional in-person interviews with our journalists. Interested? Check out our contact information at the end of the podcast.
We are all so excited our mail delivery has been getting better every week. But hey, outside Nederland, we know it's still taking a few extra days to get your newspaper in the mail. The Mountaineer has an easy solution to make sure your paper is always on time. Try it online for free. Every print subscriber is able to get free access to our online edition and website. Simply go to our website, click on subscribe, and click on 100-day free subscription. If you love it, we can continue it for the term of your subscription. If you hate it, simply don't log in and it will expire in 100 days.
And now for the next story. Jamie Lammers interviews Steve LaPointe, Ava Hamilton, and Jill Dreves of Wild Bear Nature Center. Take it away, Jamie.
Hello. My name is Jamie Lammers, and earlier this week I interviewed a few people that were involved in the blessing of the brand new land for the brand new Wild Bear Nature Center, which hopes to open in summer of 2024. First, here is my interview with Steve LaPointe.
Hi, I'm Steve LaPointe. I'm from the Sicangu Lakota, or the Rosebud Sioux tribe of South Dakota, and I've been a resident of Colorado and back and forth many years, and it's my pleasure to talk to you today.
Wild Bear Nature Center invited you and some other tribe members to do a native blessing of the land for their new nature center.
Yes.
How did you guys get involved in that?
So actually, Ava Hamilton, she's on the board here, and she is a member of the Arapaho Nation, and she's an elder in our community. Ava and her husband have been in the powwow scene since they know me since I was in diapers. So the powwow scene goes across the country, and me being back and forth so many times that they've known me, and we've connected on many different levels as community members. And we were at a field trip for American Indian Academy, and I kind of reconnected with them after the pandemic, as I believe that's what it was. And she had told me that this place was looking for some spiritual acknowledgement for the new development that's been happening. And so with that, I was able to provide my service to come here for everyone, and that's how it started. And that was a few years ago, actually, and we just now barely got to it.
What was that process like, just getting all that ready? And
just getting it all ready. It took a feat. Unfortunately, COVID put a dampener on a lot of it, and as time went on, we wanted to make sure we all had the time to do it. And commitments with the drums and the different drum groups. We had the heads of 3 different drum groups here, and that just shows you where everyone's at. Everyone had other commitments to do. So just to get the community, the Native American community of Denver involved, I took a lot of logistical stuff, have access to that, and that's what I do just normally. So to the outsider, it's a lot of work. To me, it was a labor of love doing it, and getting these gentlemen here, getting them honored in the right way, the protocol way, having Michelle all versed in those ways, offering tobacco for us to do things. It took a lot of time, a lot of face-to-face interaction. Actually had Michelle Whitty from the Nature Center here come down to a powwow in Colorado Springs and ask the drum formally in the correct way, and she got to see what the powwow was like. And so it took her a lot of time too on her end to come in and really focus what she needed here. So that's basically those months and a lot of time commitment.
How does it feel to be able to share your own culture, share your own experiences and all that with people of this community?
So just being welcomed up here, coming out of the city was amazing. I used to work in CU, and it's so densely populated there. So coming out of Boulder and coming up to the mountains, it was just a breath of fresh air. So that journey just up here, it's just only an hour west from where we all live, and that was worth the drive, coming out here and meeting all the community, sharing a dance with them opening up their hearts, their minds, and having us come out here and do this. It was all encompassing. So I can't explain enough of it. It was just amazing for the community here to outreach, and the Nature Center personnel to fully extend themselves to that as well, and being embraced. I felt like I've been embraced here, honestly. It was amazing. So that's how it felt like. I felt like I came and did a powwow up here, almost like a mini powwow, and that's how it felt. And you guys made us feel like rock stars. So for that, we thank the community.
Is there anything else just in general about your experience in regards to this, or just anything else you want to add?
Just coming out here, seeing the grounds was awesome, hearing what the plans are for your guys' community, and being a small part of that was just amazing for all of us. We all appreciated it. The drummers came to come sing up here, and we lived to sing, and to have that moment, we have a place to do it, and we had an audience to showcase some of these things. It was just amazing, and to us it was an honor. It was our pleasure. I've been helping out a lot of powwows. Maybe you guys heard of the Denver March Powwow in Denver. That's one of the biggest ones in the state, one of the biggest in the country. Kind of kickstarts the whole season off. Summertime, there's always a powwow in Indian country, and there's hundreds of thousands of dancers out there, and live and work in all communities, and some of us are your neighbors as well, and some of us have never left, some of us have stayed here, and there's some of us around every corner. So that's just what we like to say. We're your neighbors, we're your coworkers, and we've been here just to kind of see us come back in a positive light. It's been amazing, especially after COVID. So thank you all for your community, for allowing us to come out here. It's been amazing.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much.
No
we
problem.
Really appreciate it. Now, here's my interview with Ava Hamilton.
My name is Ava Hamilton. I'm Arapaho, and I lived in Boulder since 1970. I came here to go to school and have been here ever since.
We're here for a native land blessing of the Wild Bear Nature Center, the brand new Net Zero Nature Center that's being built here. How did you get involved with Wild Bear and with this new nature center?
Well, actually, several years ago, I met a friend of mine. We were working on the tags that have that American Indian symbol and is a scholarship for American Indians here in the state of Colorado. And she was a teacher at Wild Bear at the old school. So she invited me to come up and talk, and then she was a teacher at Nederland High School. So I went to talk there about Indian history. So that's how I met Wild Bear. It was years ago. I have an old t-shirt, which I can't find. But my recent visit with Wild Bear has been through my friend Heather Lazarus, who is a scientist at NCAR. We belong to a group that's called Rising Voices. Their philosophy is there are many ways of knowing, which includes indigenous knowledges and Western Earth science. And so I was really interested in that. But she has parents who live here in Nederland, and she and her husband and her son Forrest, they also live here in Nederland. So she invited me to meet the Wild Bear group. So initially that's how I came to know about Wild Bear. But recently they talked about their efforts to build this new facility and how they wanted to include the indigenous community. And it was right along the lines of the work that I do with climate change and global warming and concern for the earth, and the knowledge that I've gained from being involved with Rising Voices, which is not an organization. It's just a group that comes together once a year, and I understand we're going to do like a Zoom meeting this year. But there are people from all over the country, both indigenous knowledge holders and earth scientists. And I've learned a lot, and I have become a speaker of the things that I've learned from being involved with Rising Voices and what I know about growing up as an American Indian, being Arapaho, and my communication with what's going on with the planet. So that's my involvement with them.
And what does it mean for you and for your community to be able to come here and celebrate your culture, celebrate this land that we live on, and just to be able to come here with the community and share it all with them?
Well, I try to be involved with community initiatives, whether they're on history or local concerns, or it could be anything, because I always talk about the same thing, which is Indian history, Arapaho history, and the love of life, because we're all connected. And having this initiative and supporting this initiative is so in line with the work that I do of humanity coming together in support of each other on behalf of what we love, which is life. We all love being alive, and we all love the preciousness of the things that we get to experience, which is the beauty and other humanity, the humanity of these kind of things. So Wild Bear has invited the indigenous community to come up and use to have a relationship with some of the areas around here. And I love that, because we have historically, since 1492, we have been cut off from a relationship to the earth, to our homelands. And there's a lot of requests that I get for indigenous knowledge, and I'm not even trained or recognized. I don't have any, what I mean is responsibility to teach or to do, like Steve can do that ceremony, the blessing ceremony, but I don't have the knowledge or the responsibility of being able to do that sort of thing. So in our world, there's, certain people who can do certain things. I think especially in the Arapaho world, I can pray, anybody can pray, but there are certain ceremonies, like this is a ceremony that I just absolutely can't do, which is why having somebody like Steve in our community who has some of the ceremonies that have allowed him to be responsible for this knowledge and to take care of this knowledge and to do that sort of thing. I was happy to connect Wild Bear with their knowledge of ground blessing. What I want is our communities to know each other, to see somebody and know that it's Steve or Dave and that they live in Nederland or something like that. I want us to recognize everybody's humanity, and that's really part of the work that I do. I do it with any group that invites me, and sometimes, like recently, I get overextended attended. I was just recently part of the Tall Grass Conference up at Fort Collins, and there were people from Canada, United States, and Mexico talking about this section of where the tall grasses are. And it's from Alberta, Canada, and down to Mexico. And I talked in the same way that I'm talking with you about the love of life and love of earth, taking care of the earth. And one of the ranchers came to me later and he said, I learned a new concept. He said, I didn't know it was about life, that all things are related. We have a symbiotic relationship. We humans are not above all life. We don't have that right. We are all dependent on each other to live, and we must take care of that. We are dependent on each other, other humans, and we're dependent on water. Water is life, air, everything. We need to take care of all of it. It's not just the economy. I'm just very involved in all of that.
I kind of just wanted to add on, you mentioned that you may not necessarily have all the knowledge to teach certain ceremonies or to teach certain things, but it's important to you to really emphasize Indigenous history, and not just that, but also our connection to the land and our connection to earth and all of that sort of stuff. What does it mean to you to be able to spread that message here to such an open community and to a community that will hopefully keep that message in their hearts?
Well, I think they already have open hearts and minds, and that's the place that we all need to go, because again, your body is the same way. Your brain and your heart need to work together to do the right thing. You can't just get an education and go out and just earn money and not care about life, the life that allows you to be. And I think this time, more than any time in the existence of life and humanity, because of the danger of our planet, I'm going to say it that way, our earth, our mother, our sustenance is in deep danger, and we're causing the most danger of anybody, from vipers to grizzly bears to poisonous plants. We're the most dangerous of any living thing because we're killing our planet right now. So all of these open hearts and minds who are coming together and are knowing that and are trying to take care of the earth and all living things, taking care of each other, that's what we all need. We all need that. So when people like Wild Bear step up and they know it, I mean, it's very exciting and very appreciated by us. And to know somebody like Steve and all of our relatives are from other tribes, I mean, it's the most precious thing about me is that I'm an Indigenous person and that I'm from here and from this land for thousands of years. I'm right where I'm supposed to be, where I've always been. So if I can help, if I can be a champion of life and meet other champions of life, then that's what I'm doing. I'm working for that, There's so much to do for us to be. I could go on forever,
At the end of the interview, Ava told me about something that she and her cousin learned at a very young age.
When we were young, we learned that there are two things that are essential for life, and one is water and the other is women. I'm glad to be a woman. I love water, I love life, and I'm glad to be a woman.
And finally, here is my interview with Jill Dreves.
My name's Jill Dreves from Wild Bear Nature Center.
We just had the blessing ceremony for the brand new Nature Center. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, the new Nature Center, how the blessing ceremony went, all that sort of stuff?
Well, as we moved along, Ava Hamilton is on our advisory board or committee, and she is an Arapaho from the Arapaho Nation. And so she has advised us a number of times on our building where we had, for example, our doors were facing to the south, and we ended up moving our doors to the east because the nomadic teepee would always face the doors east to welcome the day. So we've had some advising from Native Council. It's pretty cool on this building. So we had a nice walk out here one day with Ava and our other friend Heather, and she was talking about the land blessing and how important it is to bless the land. And we kind of knew that already, but to hear it from Ava, and then she pulled together Steve and all these others to do a native land blessing. So the timing of everything aligned with when we are going to break ground. We've worked for 3 years to plan this nature center, and we're taking a big leap to actually break ground on this building. It's a 27-year-old, well, it's more like a 25-year-old vision. And I always say good biology takes time.
Good science takes time in general.
Good science takes time. You can't just have something happen fast. It's going to be quite impressive, right? We have our amazing building team and our staff and our volunteers and all our donors, and everything is aligning. So we are just completing construction documents, and we're breaking ground in June, and we'll have the foundation in this October. And then there'll be a little hiatus, and we'll get the framing in next summer, and by summer 24, end of summer likely, we will open our doors to the public. So this will be something that I think people will remember. How we blessed this land and done nothing but care for this land since we helped preserve it in 1999.
What was it like getting ready for all of this stuff? How was it like getting ready for the planning, and how was it actually being able to see the blessing ceremony come to life at the end of it all?
Well, you don't really think that it's real until you really see it. Are you talking about the planning of the Nature Center or the planning of this land blessing?
I guess a little bit of both, in particular the blessing ceremony, like how all that came together.
Right. Well, as you know, this vision has been a 25-year planning process. And a lot of people thought there's no way this would even happen, right? Just because we talked about it for so many years. And so because of our donors and our volunteers and our staff, we were able to really move it along a whole big way. And it's not been without a lot of hard work. But what's great is I have the best team I've ever had. This team is phenomenal. How could we ever end up here, right? And during the pandemic, we grew. So I think that the mission and the vision is becoming more important and more powerful every day. When you look at what's going on in the world and climate change and all of that, I think that it's kind of surfaced our mission to be a very important health focus and a very important piece to solving climate change. It was a great article about the solutions to climate change are connecting people to nature, preservation, and net zero, and that's what we're doing. So Ava Hamilton and Michelle was a big part of getting them together, and we planned this land blessing. It was supposed to be in May, and then it got pushed to June. And it's honestly been a huge amount of work. This has a life of its own, Wild Bear does, and it's happening. Like other people, not just me, I'm just following. They call me the visionary, but that's it.
And I guess my biggest thing is, once the new Nature Center opens, what do you hope people are going to take away from it? What do you hope that people are going to walk away from with it? What do you hope comes out of the new Nature Center for those that end up visiting?
One of our big goals is to create equity in the outdoors. Everyone should have this opportunity, right? And putting us on the map this way with easy access and free allows for a much bigger engagement with what we do. And being able to just go out the door onto almost 3,000 wild acres, 16 miles of trail, I think it's going to really transform people. So our hope is that all people, all ages, from all backgrounds, that this is one place where everybody can come together and be safe and feel humbled by the earth, that we are nature. And it takes the rest of it away when you can get centered into the planet and understand that we're just a speck of pepper in the big picture of things. So that's what I hope for. It's a big vision, big goal, bigger than summer camp. Summer camp's pretty cool, though.
Is there anything else just in general you want to add about the Nature Center or the blessing, or just anything off the top of your head?
I think the most overwhelming part of it all is how many people love it now. Like how many people are involved and passionate and doing things, and I don't even have to go, can you please? Just everybody taking the ball and running with it and learning from my own heart how to let people do that, letting go, letting we've done our fair share of schlepping over the years, and there's really a great team. I think that's the most important things. The donors, the volunteers, the team, past Wild Bears, everyone, right? You're part of it. My biggest hope is that the people like you and people that have been part of Wild Bear for many years know this is yours. This is what you were building all these years. This is your place. That's what I hope for.
Thank you so much, Jill. This was awesome.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming out.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much to Steve, Ava, and Jill for coming on board and joining us for the podcast. If you want to learn more about the brand new Wild Bear Nature Center, be sure to contact Wild Bear by calling 303-258-0495, by emailing them at info@wildbear.org, by going to their physical location at 20 Lakeview Drive, Unit 107 in Nederland, or by mailing them at P.O. Box 3017, Nederland, Colorado 80466. To learn more about Wild Bear Nature Center in general, please visit their website at www.wildbear.org.
Thanks, Jamie. Members of the Indian Peaks Radio Club will participate in a National Amateur Radio Field Day exercise June 25th and 26th at Columbine Campground near Blackhawk. The group will stay in the campground over the weekend, making as many radio contacts as possible with people around the country and world using ham radio equipment as a demonstration of emergency readiness. All are welcome to stop by the campground between noon on Saturday, June 25th, and noon on Sunday, June 26th, to learn about the use and importance of amateur radio. For more information on this event, check out this week's edition of the Mountaineer.
The Gilpin County Democrats hold monthly meetings in person on the fourth Thursday of each month at the Gilpin County Library from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Contact Gilpin Dems Chair at gmail.com with questions.
And the Gilpin County Republican meetings are on the first Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. at the Gilpin County Library. You can contact them at gcrcgilpin@gmail.com.
Are you interested in being a podcast sponsor? We have sponsorships available starting at $30 per week, or sponsor a whole month for just $99. The podcast reaches a different audience than the print or online edition of The Mountaineer.
This weekend is Father's Day Fishing Derby. The event takes place on Sunday, June 19th from 1 to 4 p.m. at William C. Russell Park and Pond, Central City. The event features fun for the whole family. Hamburgers and hot dogs, prizes, practice leave no trace, youth polls, yard games, and lots of activities. Check out this annual family celebration.
And now, our last interview of the week. Jamie Lammers interviews band members of Lost Penny. Here's Jamie.
This is my interview with local musical duo Lost Penny.
My name is Nadine, and I'm here with Aaron Dalby, and we are Lost Penny.
You guys are performing at UC Brews very soon.
Yeah, early July. Let's see. I can't remember the date. I have a calendar right here. It is July 3rd, and I believe they're going to have their deck ready to go, and we'll be playing outside.
How did Lost Penny as a group start? How did you guys meet? Where did the influences come from? How did it all begin?
Well, I know that I met Aaron at a bluegrass jam in Essex Park, and I think she had been going to that for a while, right, Aaron?
Yes, yeah, had been going for a few years.
I was kind of new to that. I mean, I had been a performing musician already in different ways, in a rock and roll band and in a duo, but I wasn't so familiar with the bluegrass jam, so I started doing that and just trying to figure out all the protocol for all that and everything. And so one day I started talking to Erin. I thought, she's cool enough, I'll talk to her. And I played a song for her, which was a Nickel Creek song, Reasons Why. And I said, hey, do you know this song? It's got a really nice mandolin part in it, because I had been working up that song, and she thought it was cool that I asked her that. And so she started talking to me about that. And at some point, her band had a gig at the same venue where I was doing a solo show. And I asked her if she wanted to stay on my set and play a little bit with me with her mandolin. And she did. And I think there was a solo gig where she came to it and she sang a little bit with me. And so we thought that was pretty fun. And so we got together at her house. We said, well, let's try this. Let's do some songs and let's sing a little bit together. And the harmony that happened was pretty awesome. And we thought, well, this is really fun. We should do some more of this. So we decided to start booking little gigs at first. So yeah, here we are, I think maybe 6 years later.
Yeah, that was in
2016.
Yeah, we met in 2015 and started playing together in 2016.
There you go, yeah.
And you mentioned that you bonded over Nickel Creek as well. Were there any other influences that stuck out to you as joint influences or influences that just one of you had that you brought into the group?
Yeah, you know, I think like initially when we first started playing together, I had a couple songs by the Civil Wars and then started singing those because that's a duo that had some really tight harmonies. And so we loved that. And then Erin had some songs from Shovels and Rope that she liked. Mm-hmm. Those were a really good fit. And just anything like that. And, you know, some bluegrass.
Yeah. And then we've also added in Jamestown Revival.
Yeah, for sure. Anything by Jamestown Revival. But the thing is, I also write somewhat of a prolific songwriter. And so since then, we've just expanded so much to doing so much of our originals. And we have added other instruments to most of our gigs that we have booked out this summer. We have added a bass player and a fiddle player, and we've got a show coming up this week with James Armington on banjo. So we're just kind of expanding.
And so you'd say that folk and bluegrass kind of like your area of music in regards to what you focus on?
Definitely, yeah.
And how did you both get started in music? Was there a starting point where you both kind of realized this is what I want to do?
I grew up playing piano at a very young age, and I was in choir all of my life, all of my childhood life through 12th grade. And I also played saxophone in a band. And when I was in 6th grade, I bought an electric guitar with my paper route money. That was a good investment. I used electric guitar, picked up a Guns N' Roses guitar book. Back then in the 6th grade, I knew I wanted to be in a band. Me and a couple of friends, a drummer, and I think another saxophone player, we tried to start a band. It kind of flopped, but we were only in 6th grade. But yeah, then I started playing acoustic guitar when I was 20, and it was later, I didn't really know what bluegrass was when I was growing up. A friend of mine, when I moved out to Colorado, took me to Rocky Grass, and that was my exposure to the bluegrass scene. And I just fell in love with the community and the jam scene, and I wanted to jump in and pick, and I thought the mandolin was a really cool instrument. So I started learning mandolin and going to jams, and I just love really working on songs and arrangements, and I like the folk element too, that in more complicated arrangements that you can't always do at bluegrass jams. So I realized that I wanted to start performing and working things up in a more, I guess, formal setting that wasn't just loosely jamming. So that was kind of how I got into it.
Yeah, and so you were in a band already when I met you.
I was, yeah. I was in a 3-piece bluegrass group up here in Estes.
I guess you want to know about me as well. Part of that because I can remember. I just remember music just blowing my mind. And I guess I probably sang a lot. My mom thought that I must be musical or something. So my mom liked organs for some reason. Wurlitzer organs. We had one at her house. Anyway, she had me take lessons when I was 4 years old. And then like in middle school and high school, I played violin in the orchestra. And my brother and my sister were very musical. My sister was in a rock band, and I thought she was pretty awesome. She was quite a bit older than I. My brother is 8 years older than I, and he was in musical theater a lot, and he'd be playing piano at home and guitar, and he taught my other brother and me to sing harmony with him. And so we would perform in various settings, and sometimes we would prank call people and sing a cappella songs to them. And so I grew up doing the harmony thing, but never thought I was supposed to be a lead singer or anything like that, much less write songs or whatever. But I lived in Houston for a time. I grew up in Indiana near Chicago, but I was in Houston, and I was in a really cool music scene there. I was singing with a woman in a duo doing traditional folk music and just kind of doing harmony, backing her up and stuff. And then I moved to Estes Park, and I got involved in a rock and roll band at that time, and that was pretty fun. Sometimes I would play some keyboard or violin. Most definitely sing, and I would sing a lot of lead, and I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, I can do this. And so then at some point, after, I don't know, getting married and having kids and not doing music so much, I decided that I really needed to do music again. And I was super determined to learn to play guitar well enough to accompany myself so that I didn't have to rely on someone else to have to be in a band or have to get a guitar player to accommodate what I wanted to do. So I started really seriously teaching myself how to play guitar March of 2014, and by June I was doing 3-hour solo gigs. You know, I'd already been a performer, so that wasn't new, singing and performing, but the guitar thing was new, and especially singing while I was playing guitar. I'm like, oh man, somebody would play for me. Anyway, so then I was doing that, and then when I ran across Aaron with the mandolin, I thought, well, this is really fun to have some accompaniments and some harmony. A lot more fun to do it with someone else, I think.
The setup is easier too.
Yeah. Yeah, I like when she carries the monitors and speakers sometimes. Raps chords. Most especially, I like when she talks to people after gigs while I rap chords.
Distract them from bothering you.
We're both actually introverts, and nobody ever believes that. We're performers, so we have to trade off talking to people.
What would you say is one of your favorite parts about being able to perform live and perform music as a career and be able to share the music with people?
I always talk about vibration. There's literal vibration that happens with music. And so if you're just, let's say we're just practicing together, well, that's really cool. There's your synapses. The synaptic patterns actually start to sync up in your brain. So that's cool in and of itself. But then when you're able to share it with an audience, then you add a whole other set of vibrations to that and connection. And that's pretty incredible. And you can really only get that, I think, with live performance.
Yeah, you don't even get that in the studio.
Yeah, and that's a different art form, you know,
right.
In the studio. But and then when you see it in their eyes, maybe you think nobody's listening, and then you like catch that one person who's way in the back, and you thought nobody cared. And there's that person, and they can come up to you during a set break and ask you specifics about lyrics or something. Or like we just did something at the library. It was a celebration of Dolly Parton's Imagination Library coming to the Estes Valley Library, and we were asked to be a part of that because I wrote a song about Dolly Parton, and it references that project. And to just look out there and see these tiny little faces that were just, you know, like listening to the music and dancing, but just super interested in that sound and those funny looking instruments.
The little girl kept trying to, she like wanted to touch my mandolin, I could tell.
I saw that.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's the cool thing. And I don't think you get that necessarily punching a clock somewhere either. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Is there anything that you hope that your audiences will take away from your shows when they come and see you?
Our humor and lightness of being, I think.
Yeah, we want them to have a good time, and hopefully, we play a good variety of songs, so some are light and fun, but some are pretty deep and thought-provoking.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we want to move people in whichever way. We kind of give them a little bit of a...
That's absolutely true. Yeah, we do have some pretty thought-provoking songs. One called, what is it? Come on, it's a D. It's called You'll Realize, and it's kind of about sometimes moments that you're in and you're living are pretty special and you may not realize it at the time. So to make sure that you stop and take that in. So, weird stuff like that. But then we also sing about dogs and we bark in one of our songs.
Elvis. Yeah, our bio says that we're prone to sing songs about Elvis and dogs.
Yes.
You also have that song, we haven't performed it in a little while, but Mr. Jones, for example.
Oh, about,
yeah.
Immigration issues, stuff like that. But, we have fun too.
Any other shows coming up or anything you want to promote or just...
Sure, we're musicians. We always are ready to promote stuff that's coming up. We also have released a single, so if people want to get kind of an idea of what we sound like, we have a song called Dolly Do, and it's on all the streaming platforms. So if you search Dolly Do and Lost Penny, you should be able to find it. The artwork has a butterfly with an image of Dolly Parton in the middle of the butterfly. We also have radio stuff. We did a Live at Lunch with KRFC. That's an hour-long show with interviews and everything on their YouTube channel, so that's kind of fun.
And I don't know. I think that's pretty much everything that I needed on my end.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for doing this with us.
Thank you so much to Aaron and Nadine for coming on board and joining us for the podcast. If you want to see them perform live, be sure to check them out at Busey Brews at 70 East 1st Street in Nederland on Sunday, July 3rd, 2022 at 3 p.m.
Thanks, Jamie. Friends, don't forget to pick up this week's edition of The Mountaineer in print in multiple locations across the Peak to Peak for the latest news from Allens Park to Central City and Blackhawk, with all of the communities and canyons in between.
Gilpin residents, you can still register to vote all the way up to June 28th for the local mail ballot primary election. But from June 20th to June 28th, 2022, you must appear at the Voter Service and Polling Center for these services. The Voter Service Voting Center is located at the Old Courthouse at 203 Eureka Street in Central City. Friends, make sure to vote in this important county election.
And that's all for this week's episode of the Mountaineer Podcast. All editions of the Mountaineer Podcast, print newspaper, and the latest news are always available on our website at www.themountaineer.com. To contact us, please call 303-810-5409 or email us at info@themountaineer.com.
Thanks, everyone. I'm Doug Armitage.
And I'm Barbara Hardt. Until next time, thanks for listening.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak to Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.